Baha'u'llah also talked about the establishment of something that the Baha'is call the most great peace. And that is a societal peace, but also a personal peace. As we move through this stage of humanity, which the Baha'is recognize as sort of a turbulent adolescence, where we are testing everything, and we are essentially testing the rules to see if what our parents taught us is correct, like we do when we are adolescents. Humanity is doing the same thing. But we are moving towards an establishment of peace. Peace where everyone is able to achieve what they were meant to achieve, the flowering of that essence that God put within each one of us, because we are unique. We embody the uniqueness of God, because there's only one God and there's only one us. And so we have a unique fruit to bear and to offer to this world. Towards the end of his life, Baha'u'llah wrote a book called Epistle to the Son of the Wolf. The wolf was an Iranian clergyman who was avidly opposed to Baha'u'llah and to his teachings. And his son was equally rabid in his persecution of Baha'is. And so this book was a letter written to the son. In it, Baha'u'llah summarized all of his teachings, and he brought together a compilation of many of his most important teachings. And I believe that the one I'm about to read to you is essentially the recipe for peace, both for us as individuals and for us in the world, because as we strive to put this into operation within our lives, it will transform everyone around us by our example, and as we take the steps to do it. And I'm going to intersperse this quote with some examples. Be generous in prosperity. In my travels, the most generous people I've ever run across are the people who have nothing. When I was 14 and I was living under a bridge in central Mexico, the people that fed me, that gave me of their own, were the people at the markets that would let me come and shill for them to the tourists coming into the markets. They fed me, they gave me blankets, they gave me anything I needed, and they had nothing. What they were selling was and selling was what they had been able to produce out of their own meager gardens. Some of the most selfish people in the world are those that have a lot. So the challenge is that as we have, so should we give. Because we can trust in God that as we give, it will be restored to us in some way. And if we give it all away and we have nothing, well, there's a whole bunch of other people out there that have nothing that will give it to us too. Because that's the way the world works. And thankful in adversity. I have discovered the truth of that so much in my own life that every time a tragedy happens or an attack happens or some other just horrendously negative event occurs in my life, the best way to deal with it is simply to say thank you. Thank you to God, and thank you to the universe, and thank you to the people that have caused it, because it's an opportunity for me to prove that I am more than this incident. Be worthy of the trust of thy neighbor. If your neighbors don't trust you, they won't come to you in time of need so that you can be a source of joy and comfort to them. And look upon him with a bright and friendly face. Be a treasure to the poor. Often the poor are the most greatest treasure to the poor. And an admonisher to the rich, an answerer to the cry of the needy, and a preserver of the sanctity of thy pledge. Be fair in thy judgment and guarded in thy speech. Be unjust to no men, and show all meekness to all men. Meekness is a unique word, because we think meekness means to be lowly and subservient, but that is not the case. The meekness that we demonstrate to all men is our meekness and obedience to God, so that we are fully able to engage our brothers and sisters as brothers and sisters, and so that we can create the peace on the planet that will allow us all to thrive and prosper. Be as a lamp unto them that walk in darkness, a joy to the sorrowful, a sea for the thirsty, a haven for the distressed, an upholder and defender of the victim of oppression. The reality is there's a lot of oppression in this world. There's a lot of oppression in this country, in this state, in this city, in this community, in this neighborhood, and I dare say, perhaps even in this meeting. One of the ways that we can challenge ourselves to decide if we are part of the oppression or if we are part of the solution is when we see an individual or a community or a group of people, we can say to ourselves, do I want to be treated like that? If I don't want to be treated like that, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be part of the solution. I was listening to a TED Talk not too long ago, and a woman challenged the audience, and it was a completely white audience. And she said to them, I want all the white people in this audience who are willing to be treated like a black person in America today to stand up and say yes. Not one person stood up. And her response to that was, well, of course not. Then why do you let it happen? Why do you let it happen to others if you don't want to be treated that way? Stand up and fight for it. Stand up and tell people that is wrong. I will oppose that. I will be on the front line. I will be there. That's how we create peace. We become an active source of peace. Active. And that's the word. Peace is an action verb, and it is a verb. We can peace all we want laying in bed, but we need to be peace out here. I need to be peace with you. I need to be peace with myself. I need to peace with the world. And it sounds weird to say that because we always think of peace as a noun. The Pax Romana, the peace of Rome, which was not peace. The peace of Christ, which is not only is it a Catholic organization, but it is also a concept that is very much spoken of in Christian circles today. Because so many people are not at peace. They don't conceive of what peace truly is. Peace has to be active. Baha'u'llah says, let integrity and uprightness distinguish all thine acts. Be a home for the stranger. Well, we are trying to not be a home for a stranger in this country right now. A balm to the suffering, a tower of strength for the fugitive. Be eyes to the blind and a guiding light to the feet of the erring. Be an ornament to the countenance of truth and a crown to the brow of fidelity. A pillar of the temple of righteousness. A breath of life to the body of humankind and an ensign of the hosts of justice. A luminary above the horizon of virtue, a dew to the soil of the human heart. If nothing else, we can certainly be that. We can reach out and touch another human heart so that a seed will grow there. An ark on the ocean of knowledge, a sun in the heaven of bounty, a gem on the diadem of wisdom, a shining light in the firmament of thy generation, and a fruit upon the tree of humility. Now, Baha'u'llah was very audacious. He said, essentially, that the Baha'is, his followers, were his gift to the world. And that one of the things that he wanted us to do was to go out into the world. And he offered us as an example. He says, the Baha'is will go out. They will do all of these things. And they will willingly be persecuted on behalf of the downtrodden. They will willingly stand in the front lines. So that's our challenge as Baha'is. And for those who are not Baha'i in this gathering, I challenge you to do the same thing. Go out and stand in the front lines. I'm sure that within your families, there are people of color. There are people who are of alternate lifestyles. There are transgender people. There are people who are immigrants. There are people who are Native American. There are people, there are people, there are people, there are people, there are people. Thank you.